the modus operandi. So that's the first point. As to the complete silence for a long time of official American feminism about Bill and Hillary, I've often found and sometimes said on this show that it's both shameful and astonishing. It's come down to them saying, really, there's nothing they won't let him do as long as he holds his current rather wobbly, hypocritical line on abortion. And that, I think, is a pretty sordid political pact. I don't think there's anything you could possibly put past him.
Now, you've made the point that the liberal intelligentsia of America, which you normally can count on for some modicum of criticism against an incumbent president, especially an incumbent president who, you know, has done things on welfare reform and military activity, have been silenced and shamed, I think is your point. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that the left or liberals in America have not been more vocal in their criticism of Clinton?
Well, it's partly because of a theory and a practice that I've attacked elsewhere and implicitly attack again in this book, which is the theory of the lesser evil. In other words, right up front, a lot of people have given away their right to be critical, to be independent, or to be ethical. And of course, the consequences of that are a lot of slack is cut for crooks or very unscrupulous people like Clinton. I mean, for example, probably the thing that has the largest consensus behind it morally in the United States is that the campaign finance system is rotten to the core. Everybody knows that the way in which campaigns are financed and donations are solicited is absolutely unpardonable. But by any standard, including the standard of Richard Nixon, Mr. Clinton has taken the country to the cleaners. He's absolutely sold his party and high offices of state to foreign despots, to shady offshore corporations and so on, for large sums of illegal money. He's destroyed the distinction between hard and soft money, which is fairly hypocritical to begin with. He's set a completely new standard for political corruption. Now, he's also attracted the least criticism from the usual suspects for doing so. Now, there's clearly something dysfunctional about that.
Well, it's not even silence. I mean, I've watched politics and observed politics long enough to know that when a politician normally gets involved in a scandal, the natural constituency runs for the hills. Yet we're seeing, you know, Jesse Jackson praying with Hillary and Bill, Gloria Steinem writing editorial defenses, Barbara Streisand doing fundraising dinners. What's with these people?
Arthur Schlesinger coming forward to say that all gentlemen must lie about sex. How he would know about either gentleman or sex, I have no idea. Yeah, all of that. And then when you argue against it, you say, well, look, let's just take the campaign finance thing and the tremendous sellout to China, where it looks very likely now as if the sinews of proliferation were franchised to the Chinese in return for dubious money. So that's corruption of American politics at one end and the creation of a very unstable and dangerous superpower at the other. I make this case, say, in New York at some dinner party, and someone will look at me, I won't give a name, but someone, say, who might well be writing for the New York Review of Books, and will say, well, what do you want, Dan Quayle as president? And I say, look, is that really your argument? Is that the whole story? And they will, very often that's all it was, not even an argument. I mean, I do have a degree which involves passing a paper or two in formal logic. I don't need it for this purpose. That's not even an argument. It's not really even a very good observation. What it suggested to me, that people would lower their standards for reasoning in that way, was that there was something that would be might vulgarly be called denial at work, that they simply wouldn't face that they had twice voted for.
At this point. Mrs. Clinton.
Mrs. Clinton. Well, I can't understand why people think she's owed a Senate seat. Somehow it seems that after all she's done for us, we ought to find her a place in the Senate. I don't get this at all. What has she done for us except be the self-pitying, robotic defendant of someone who is a pathological liar, almost certainly a rapist, and, as I show in the book, a minor war criminal? All she's done is say that it's always someone else's fault. That plus, I suppose, very nearly single-handedly took the work of many people over many years to build up a consensus on national health coverage and universal health care and just piss it away in a couple of months, so that now there's no question in anybody's mind that the healthcare situation in the United States is much worse than when the Clintons were elected, very much worse, steeply worse for the just both for the profession and for the patients because of the takeover of the whole healthcare business by the HMO racket. Probably one of the great single social disasters of the century. I don't see that she gets a Senate seat for that, do you?
That there has been a publicly financed, orchestrated campaign to, I think in your words, discredit, smear, or threaten women who have dared to expose him for what he really is.
That's right.
Tell us about what some of the most disturbing examples of that are for you.
Well, I think probably the most disturbing is the stories that we heard about the harassment of Kathleen Willey. Mm-hmm. After she made her allegation of the advance in the Oval Office itself. Various unpleasant things happened to her. Her car was done in. It seems one of her pets was killed, and while she was out jogging, she was approached by a stranger who knew about the pet and knew about the car, and also knew her children's names, and gave her effectively a warning. A frightener was hired by somebody. Now, there is a gentleman whose name perhaps I won't mention. It isn't a well-known name anyway, except to Washington insiders. Very unpleasant political tycoon, fundraiser, black bag man, who is currently pleading the Fifth Amendment to the question: Did the president ask you to hire a frightener? Right. I'd want to do better than plead the Fifth if I was accused of doing that kind of thing.
You would think.
Dick Morris, who was for a while, as well as Clinton's main strategist and financier, or rather spender of the money. As well as that was for a while Clinton's only male friend, has since said that there was a department maintained by the Clintons, run by a woman called Betsy Wright, partly paid for with public funds, which hired private detectives to go and inquire into the past of inconvenient females, tell them what might happen to them if they were so indiscreet as to tell the truth about their relationship with the president. So we have innumerable women describing what that's been like for them. And then we had the very plain attempt, I thought, to obstruct justice by smearing Monica Lewinsky as a blackmailer and a stalker. Now, we know the president's the author of that story because his subordinate, Mr. Blumenthal, testified that to the grand jury. We know that came from Clinton. We know how it got into the press. Clinton's people put it there. It wasn't just a smear and a defamation. It was a threat. It was telling her what would happen to her if she didn't stay perjured. And at that point, they didn't know she had any evidence to the contrary. Necessity.
Now, switching gears entirely, I mean, you follow all these stories, but you became part of the story relatively recently when you testified in the Starr investigation, and some people say betrayed your old friend, Sidney Blumenthal.
To level that, how can you, as a journalist, in the basis being integrity, which has been in question.
This is how I can do it.
Lately.
Yeah. Yes. This is how I.
If you want to start rhyming Hitchens
with
things.
Go ahead. Now, you should do it while I'm here.
I don't know how you can question.
Do it while I'm here, or don't do it at all. Wait. Say that to my face, or don't say it at all.
What I'm saying is,
say it to my face, or don't say it.
Let me finish, because I will.
No.
I will.
I know what you're saying.
In the most recent, the May edition of Vanity Fair.
Would you let him talk? Yes, he's trying to make an insinuation.
Say it, but he's trying.
That too.
He's trying, and he would do it if you'd shut the hell up.
He wants.
Say it. Why? Suzanne, would you put something over his mouth?
That you don't give. You like to show that you don't give a damn about what people think when you dedicate your entire column this month to trying to tit for tat and against the people, your detractors, the people who are saying that you breached this code of ethics, the lunchroom, and all the stuff in the Sidney Blumenthal thing. And you said that no one has accused you of being a snitch, which would mean you acted out of malice or self-promotion. No one has accused you of that. Well, I'm here right now, and that's what I'm accusing you of.
By claiming that he had told you what was the party line in the White House, that Monica Lewinsky was a stalker. I mean, give me some sense of what your motivation was there. Didn't seem in character.
The Judas kiss, you mean, from your humble servant? No, it isn't. That wouldn't be in character, but it wasn't a Judas kiss either. I've been telling Sidney for a long time, if you have to be involved with this guy, which I didn't think he did, don't get involved in the dirty tricks end of it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do that.
And this clearly was a dirty trick when Blumenthal told you this.
Look, Mr. Clinton told my friend a completely false story about Monica Lewinsky that was also very defamatory of Miss Lewinsky herself. And it was intended to mislead his wife, his cabinet, the public, until there was no one left to light it. And Sidney had to get his own lawyer to go before the grand jury and talk and give this false story, and go through a lot of worry and annoyance as a result, and possible exposure, and also waste a lot of his and our time, on our dime, I might add, because we were paying for all this. And I don't think it's me who's betrayed Mr. Blumenthal. I think the friend who betrayed him there was Mr. Clinton. And all I did when asked, well, can you say of your own knowledge whether or not any of the president's people were putting about this filthy slander, I thought obliged to say yes.
But you kind of rule
I'd said it already. I'd said it.
Of journalism is, and I know you see yourself as more than simply a journalist, but is never become part of the story.
Well, it's not one of my rules.
But what was your
I wasn't there when they coined that rule.
What was your motivation? I mean, because clearly Sidney Blumenthal was a good friend of yours. I think I read somewhere you said, I was hoping I could hit the president and miss Sidney.
Well, that's what I did do. I mean, it was quite clear to me that Sidney would be in no jeopardy. He would look a fool if he denied it, and he'd look a fool for having circulated the story, and he'd already had to admit he'd been lied to and made to look a fool by Clinton to begin with. I'm sorry about all that. That's not my fault. On the other hand, my only alternative would be to lie or pretend ignorance, which was another form of falsehood, and in so doing safeguard one of their lies. Well, I'm very proud of the fact that at least one Clintonian lie expired in my personal arms. I was able to put it to sleep, and I wish I'd been able to do that more often.
But you paid quite a price. I mean, your colleagues have called you Christopher Snitchens.
If you want to start rhyming Hitchens with things.
Go ahead.
Now,
you should do it while I'm here.
I don't know how you can question.
Do it while I'm here, or don't do it at all. Wait. Say that to my face, or don't say it at all.
But you paid quite a price. I mean, your colleagues have called you Christopher Snitchens.
You acted out of malice or self-promotion. No one has accused you of that. Well, I'm here right now, and that's what I'm accusing you of.
Has since said that there was a department maintained by the Clintons, run by a woman called Betsy Wright, partly paid for with public funds, which hired private detectives to go and inquire into the past of inconvenient females, tell them what might happen to them if they were so indiscreet as to tell the truth about their relationship with the president. So we have innumerable women describing what that's been like for them. And then we had the very plain attempt, I thought, to obstruct justice by smearing Monica Lewinsky as a blackmailer and a stalker. Now, we know the president's the author of that story because his subordinate, Mr. Blumenthal, testified that to the grand jury. We know that came from Clinton. We know how it got into the press. Clinton's people put it there. It wasn't just a smear and a defamation, it was a threat. It was telling her what would happen to her if she didn't stay perjured. And at that point, they didn't know she had any evidence to the contrary.
Yes, I find it wonderfully ironic that Mr. Hitchens abominates Joseph McCarthy, certainly doesn't abominate his tactics as they were used in the last couple of years to take a little bit of truth, a swirl of innuendo, many accusations, and believe Juanita Broderick, for example, or any other such story. But regarding Lindsey Graham and Asa Hutchinson...
Are you calling Miss Broderick a liar?
If
you do, you have more nerve than the president, who won't even discuss her accusation.
No, I don't call her a liar, but why do you believe her?
Well, because I think her story has been extensively checked out and found to ring true wherever it's tested, and because I know of no motive for a woman.
Story of rape.
Yes, I know of no.
True where it's tested.
I know of no motive she could possibly have.
Well, let me just.
There are no negatives. There's no reason to think that she could have or would have wanted to make it up or had any inducement to do so at all. In fact, for a very long time, she was hoping not to be made public, which was something in the end she was unable to avoid. She only told her own story when it was in danger of being told, or had been partly told by others. But for her, she was extremely reluctant to come forward, but every element of the story that Lisa Myers and the reporters on the thing could check proved out. And when the president was asked where he'd been that day, and he was, after all, Attorney General of the state of Arkansas, he wouldn't help furnish an alibi, and he has refused steadfastly to comment on it, even when practically begged by Sam Donaldson, who said, well, sir, won't you even deny it? Now, if I was a man accused of rape by a woman of character and reputation like Miss Broderick, I'd want to do a lot better than saying absolutely nothing. And I think that women who make false accusations of this kind should be prosecuted with extreme severity, by the way.
Well, it's partly because of a theory and a practice that I've attacked elsewhere, and implicitly attack again in this book, which is the theory of the lesser evil. In other words, right up front, a lot of people have given away their right to be critical, to be independent, or to be ethical. And of course the consequences of that are a lot of slack is cut for crooks or very unscrupulous people like Clinton.
I don't get this at all. What has she done for us except be the self-pitying, robotic defendant of someone who is a pathological liar, almost certainly a rapist, and, as I show in the book, a minor war criminal? All she's done is say that it's always someone else's fault.
As to the complete silence for a long time of official American feminism about Bill and Hillary, I've often found, and sometimes said on this show, that it's both shameful and astonishing. It's come down to them saying, really, there's nothing they won't let him do as long as he holds his current rather wobbly, hypocritical line on abortion. And that, I think, is a pretty sordid political pact.